Welcome to Strangeville. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kevin Strange, 20-year veteran of the underground. I am a cartoonist, novelist, and independent filmmaker, and I am here today to share my love of comic books with you, gang. And a lot of you, though, you're not going to like today's comic book, and that's okay. That's okay because Strangeville is an island, and we are neutral and impartial. We love great comic books, regardless of who creates them. I don't want to hear the bullshit about platforming Nazis. I don't want to hear the bullshit about platforming commies. We're here to look at the best comic books in the world, inspirational comic books that look truly badass. And I am joined today, very special guest, the amazing PhD of comics, Dr. Ben. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good, pretty good. I like your little contrast between the Nazis and the commies, because if there was some sort of spiritual, supernatural element, I would not be able to take this ultimate commie book from Alan Moore. I would not be able to put it into the Cyberfrog. But it would burst into flames. I mean, it could. So really, it's going
We
to be just
cover
a challenge.
commies like Alan Moore, who is kind of like, he actually wears like, hammer and sickle shirts and shit and professes his love for socialism. Whereas on the other hand here, who are we looking at today, Dr. Ben?
Well, this is often imitated, never replicated Cyberfrog. This is from, I know, one of your favorite cartoonists, Ethan Van Sciver, in all caps comics. This is his Blood Honey box. This is what, after Ethan was canceled, he used to work on the Green Lantern comic books. He used to work on the Firestorm comic books with Gail Simone. Used to be BFFs, old Ethan and Gail.
Before the
But
big schism, the commie Nazi schism of 2016. But I call him a Nazi in jest, of course, because at no point has Ethan Van Sciver ever proclaimed that he was a Nazi, unless he was doing it satirically in a song or something on his YouTube channel. So on one side, the commies are like, yeah, we're commies, but those guys are Nazis, and then the people on the other side are like, man, we just want to make comics. And I'm not
right,
saying that makes one side better than the other, or one side right and the other side wrong. What I like is cool comics, and you can't deny that Ethan Van Sciver makes cool fucking comics, and that's all I care about. So
hand that.
if you
Like,
got a if you got a problem, he probably modeled that off his own dainty little artist hand. Look at that hand has never seen a hard day's work in his life.
he did. If you've ever listened to any of his history or whatever, he started, right out. He was one of the guys that, like, in high school, was the really good drawer. He went right from
Yep,
from
hated those guys.
school.
I hated those guys. All I ever wanted to do was be a cartoonist, and they were all better than me. Now they're all dead, and you're stuck with me. Before we
Well, see,
get it,
he was.
before we get any further
Yeah.
into
So
today's, hang on. Before we get any further into today's video, of course, as the late great Ed Piskor would say, these videos are brought to you by the comic books that we make. Dr. Ben and I are both cartoonists. It is October. It is Monster Month, and that means that I have a brand new comic book, Kevin Strange's Count Kefula, aka Dracula in Strangeville, available. It's a 28-page full-color, crazy outlaw underground comic. If you're into Robert Crumb, Gilbert Shelton, S. Clay Wilson, Spain Rodriguez, the old school underground artists, raunchy, vulgar, violent, misogynistic, extremely, the male libido, unchecked, then you will love Strangeville Comics. You will love Count Kefula, aka Dracula in Strangeville. It's about Count Dracula breezing into the peaceful small town of Strangeville, gathering up a bevy of big booty bimbos, turning them into vampires, and promptly throwing himself a blood bank party. What's a blood bank party, you ask? Well, For only $3 a month, you can subscribe to the Patreon and immediately download Count Kefula right now. And include not just Count Kefula, but all of my other comics like Kevin Strange's Space Worms, Too Many Dabs issues 1 and 2, Death to Strangeville, got another one hiding under here, Wizard of Ganj, and many more. I've been knocking these comics out for a hot minute, gang. I'm also doing a tactile physical comic pre-order, very short, very small run of Count Kefula. That link is in the description. $12 gets you the Count Kefula comic plus this free 11 by 17 poster that you see here on the iPad. We are almost at that precious 1,000 subscribers that will drag us up out of small channel hell. We have less than 130 subscribers to go to get us there. Once we hit that goal, so about 40% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed. So hit that subscribe button below if you're listening to this right now. If you didn't skip past all the advertising to get right to the meat of the video, which I often do. You're missing out on the fact that I'm going on this crucial information. Kevin Strange's Space Worms, my 164-page magnum opus graphic novel about these space worms invading partygoers' minds as they try to get fucked up and fuck. You know how it goes. And then carnage and hilarity ensues. I'm going to be giving away the digital version of Kevin Strange's Space Worms for a month for free at the Patreon below. So just by subscribing, you're going to get yourself a free Kevin Strange comic as soon as we hit that 1,000 subscribers. What you got, Dr. Ben?
Got, my own channel, I will say, is not at 1,000 subscribers.
Apparently only 6% of all YouTube channels ever achieve that goal, 6%. Which is that's a crazy statistic to me, but we're gonna get you there, Dr. Ben. Once we get me there, we're gonna get you there, because Strangeville raises, Strangeville raises all ships. I'm here to. My goal is to uplift all comics and all comics creators, regardless of your background, regardless of. You know what I like to say? This is what I like to say, Dr. Ben. Bullshit ain't nothing. I don't care what you've been accused of. I don't care what they call you. On the left, on the right, Eric Larson's one of my favorite cartoonists, and today we're looking at Cyberfrog Blood Honey. I don't know if I'll look at Gail Simone comics. I don't know if I can look at. I think the closest I might come to looking at Gail Simone comics, I guess, is your Ethan Van Sciver comics there. So there's there's only so far I can go, gang. There's only so much. there's only so much rope I can hand out. I don't think that Gail Simone's going to get any love from me. But
never read a Batgirl from Gail Simone.
If it's good, we'll look at it.
Suicide Squad. I think she did a lot of Suicide Squad with. I don't know. I've never really read any of it though. It sounds. She used to be a hairdresser. Maybe still is.
Well, your boy Zach used to go ham on her shit about how fucking shitty it was and how wine ant cringe it was. But we're not here to talk about Gail Simone. We're here to talk about Dr. Ben's comics. What you got out right now, Dr. Ben, before we get into this Cyberfrog Blood Honey?
Well, I've been covering on my channel there. My comic, Let Us Get, is my true crime goth comic, is what I'm calling it. I've got a few copies of this Ashcan preview comic, a mini comic that I printed of it. By now, the crowdfund should be up, I believe, by now, depending when this is, how far along into the month and everything. But I'll be printing a regular full-size version of this, but you can go onto my eBay, get this, $10, you get this and my horror manga, No Legs. Or just go over, you can read it. I post all the stuff on my YouTube, my Twitter,
all
Facebook.
That stuff is, there are links in the description to Dr. Ben's YouTube channel and his Substack, so you can get all your Dr. Ben goodness right there in the description of this video. How convenient.
When we get to 500 subscribers, you get a deal when you go to Dr. Ben's comics. You don't have to get up to 1,000 subscribers. You just get to 500. and we're gonna have a live stream where we bust open Arcade Comics #2 with this beautiful Robert Crumb cover, and I believe this is Art Spiegelman on the back, famous for his mouse comic. But you know, gonna bust open the Cyberfrog box today, right? I know a lot of people.
Give it a once over. Let's get a real good look at what this
A lot of people have
box looks
issues with.
like, because this box is beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, irregardless of whatever your thoughts, you like him, you don't like him, the work he puts out. Okay, this is the box.
Yeah, show it off while you're talking. Show that box off. Yeah.
Got the little, what is that, hollow foil or something?
Is it embossed also, or just hollow foil?
I think it's just hollow foil. Oh, this is embossed on the front too.
Nice.
The logo.
Dude, that is so fucking cool.
It's got the tells you about the back. Cyberfrog was his comic in the '90s when he first started. He had his own comic, Cyberfrog. You know, like back in the '90s, it was a huge comic book bubble of just everything people could get their hands on. They were printing, and he came out. You know, he, like I said, he was one of those people that could draw real good, and got picked up by DC and everything eventually. And so, you know, he stopped doing Cyberfrog. Look at that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got a little magnetic clasp. So, like, who even thinks, I've never even thought to do anything like this. And then it's like you see it and you're like, oh my gosh, that is, of course. Because that, you know, that's where you store all your little comic books. You know, they send them all in there. Now, I paid, I think it was like $110, right? It was $110 for this. And you got, I'll show you the stuff you get with it. Not to just try and sell Ethan's stuff for him here, but I mean, this is a legitimate cool deal, you know? You get the box thing, okay. You get this weird white cover of Cyberfrog Blood Honey. This is the return story. After he was let go from DC Comics, came back to his Cyberfrog character, went to the crowdfund way and raised a ton of money to print new Cyberfrog comics. So you get this one. This is the main story, but it has a white embossed cover or whatever that is. You get that. You get the art of John May. I think this is just a bunch of pinups, basically. Okay.
Incredible stuff.
You get, this has been my favorite version of the Cyberfrog comics so far because, look, they've dropped out the colors and they've dropped out the word balloons and the lettering. It's just the inks. Like this is a perfect comic in my world. There's no distracting words, no sound effects. That's Cyberfrog's brother, Salamandroid. He has been since the '90s, and that's what I'm saying. Like he uses all of it. The story, you know, he's been in hibernation since the '90s.
It does look though like it doesn't look like this is just naturally the inks. It looks like they've gone in and digitally put in all those like all that black work is probably digital, because if it was just the go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking what he does is after he does the inks, he scans it in, and because there's not like you're right, like there's not like a variation in the tone. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just black or just white.
Right.
You know, even like here where it kind of looks gray, if you really get in there, that's just real thin black lines. But you know, like at
hatching and cross hatching.
Right. So, I mean, I think that would be interesting to see, like, you know, like you're talking about, like an artist edition, right?
Right.
Where it's going to have all the little smudges and goobers and little bits of blue line or whatever. I think he does blue line, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Like with blue pencils.
Yeah. And what that means, so in the old school, you would draw your pencils in blue line because they wouldn't the blue doesn't show up when you scan the image in. So you would blue line your pencils, and then the inker would ink over the blue lines, and then the blue lines wouldn't appear in the final image.
Let's hold this.
Yeah, because those,
here.
in the book itself, they don't have bold black backgrounds like that. So yeah, we're gonna compare here the colorized version, which you'll see those backgrounds are actually gradient and.
Yeah, so that's the same page here, right? This image of the Vespas are these hornets that have invaded the Earth, alien hornets, right? Called Vespas. He actually modeled them after that picture of Heather Antos and all the writers that were her friends, where they all had milkshakes.
The
That
famous.
was apparently a big, large moment. That was they were the people that didn't like Ethan, and so he modeled the Vespas after Heather Antos. So that's hilarious.
The viral milkshake moment where the ladies were going to take over comics and do it the right way, and then promptly spent the next decade completely ruining comic books. So you see that top. Hang on, the right hand page. Show the top panel right hand page, and if you look at the backgrounds there's actually like a forest background to the left panel with her face. See, like go all the way up to her, and you can see there's like a tree in the background behind her on the left, the left of her head, and the right of her head. She's framed by some trees and some backlighting. Now, if you look at the black and white version.
Yeah, he's got the trees in there. It looks like they might I think I see. It looks like they might have like cleaned up the trees a little bit. Oh, maybe not. No, I don't think so. It looks like
I thought it was a solid. I thought it was a solid black background, but you're right. It's not. He still put the trees back there.
Yeah,
so there might not be as much digital manipulation here as I thought there was. Not that it matters. We're just talking process. It's not a criticism. It's just we're just talking comics process and how it works.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he just the colorist put in like a layer over, to help differentiate the background from the foreground.
Yeah.
Take like the black on there.
But I wonder if Ethan didn't fill in those trees black, like he just drew them, left them open. And then for the black and white version, they got filled in black. For the color version, they got colored. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm discussing is how much of the stuff has been digitally filled in black versus the colorized version.
Oh yeah, I would. If I were to guess, I would bet that he fills in all his blacks because you're going to have like look at this page, right? That's. If you had that original art, this original page, I mean, that is a work of art. I mean, look at that. Like, up there's all those blacks. If all that was just left open with, like, the little X's to tell the colorist or whatever, it would, you know what I'm saying? Like, the original art page wouldn't look as good. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it had all those big open spots.
Right.
And look at that is like all the indie guys right there. All, you know what I'm saying? Like this thing eating people, devouring them.
Yeah.
Putting its stuff to dissolve them, and like that's just fantastic. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like if you're talking about comics and just the craft of them, the artistic, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't even touch it. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
and that's, we're covering Cyberfrog on this channel. Like we cover guys like Doug TenNapel, or we cover guys like Josh Howard, because the big guys like Comics Tropes and other big, much bigger YouTube comics review channels than this, they would never cover this. From an ideological standpoint, they would get kicked out of the tribe, the quote unquote tribe, if they had any good words at all to say about someone like Ethan Van Sciver. And here at
Also,
Strangeville, I have a very simple. Here at Strangeville, I have a very simple edit, and that is tribes are for Africa. We don't need tribes in comics. We need everyone in comics to come together and quit acting like spoiled teenage girls. There is no Mean Girls table. Well, there actually are a lot of girls who've ruined comics over the last decade, and they should just not be in. They should have never been comics in the first place. Like you said, they're hairdressers. They come out of college with gender studies degrees and feminist studies degrees, and they never had any business here in the first place, and they don't belong. They don't they have no reason.
I look at comics. Everyone can belong in comics.
Sure,
but that's what I'm saying. Because the difference is that like you're dumb and like you must and push other people out because you don't like Ethan or you don't like this person, you don't like whoever, right? Like you can feel that way and not like people, but that doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying?
It shouldn't mean anything because it's comics are comics, and like even the dumb hairdressers and the dumb feminist studies degree girls, they can make their own comics, and they used to. Back in the underground days, there were girls that made feminist comics. And
off Nina Paitley, like an old, huge lesbian lady from the '90s. I found her in the back of Cerebus too. You know how there's all those crazy indie people in the backs of Cerebus?
Yeah,
that's where I found like Nina Paitley. She got kicked off of Indiegogo because she's now considered a TERF. Right?
Right.
She's still like just somebody's old lesbian aunt or whatever.
Right.
But they kicked her off because you know what I'm saying. That's where I draw the line. Like that's fine if you don't like her. You don't have to like Ethan. You don't have to like anyone. But once you start like changing and saying, hey, you know what? Ethan is selling all these comics in this book, and I think he's dumb because it's $100, and you also get freaking. The salamander. Look at the size of that. You get a giant salamandroid toy.
Like the camera's barely even picking it up.
You get the little cyber. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the big one. That they're like scale or whatever. So like Cyberfrog is that big. That's how big salamandroid is. That's crazy. You get these and the Salamandroid Mega Mug.
That's awesome.
Like, that's so, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is just, look at that thing. I took it out, but I will say the mug I was a little disappointed with. I was like, I don't want to drink out of it. It looks like too plastic.
That's cool. It looks like a Funko Pop. It would look good on the shelf.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I put it with all the rest of the stuff. I like the, you know what I'm saying? It's just like he's doing what he wants. He's got his comics. Why is anyone going to say that he shouldn't be allowed to make Cyberfrog?
Because he's a Nazi, because you're platforming a Nazi, because he's a hateful bigot, misogynist, and the poor girls need protected by all these giant billion-dollar platforms because their feelings are hurt. I mean, the list goes on and on of they've just pile all of these ridiculous reasons on top of each other to deplatform and be cancel pigs. And really, at the end of the day, it's because they don't want competition. And I don't think anybody in comics is in competition. I think there's room for everybody, for the fan base, for the lovers of comics. They can buy everything. They can buy one thing. They can buy nothing. They can, there is no competition. Comics are in competition with other forms of media for people's attention. So everyone in comics, I think, should be working together to lift comics to a higher level. You know, comics are considered. I'm going to do, Dr. Ben. Wait until you see. I've never heard anybody talk about this before.
Have you ever heard?
Hang on. Let me finish this. Let me finish this. There's a fucking. There's a fucking intro to the first Hellboy collection, the Seed of Destruction, by the writer by the weird fiction novelist Robert Bloch, who was big in like weird fiction Lovecraftian circles. And I guess Mike Mignola thought it was awesome to get him so that makes Hellboy look more literary than comics. All this guy does is trash comics and praise the Comics Code Authority. Wait till I do an episode on this, Dr. Ben. I'm going to cover Hellboy Seed of Destruction and spend a lot of time on this ridiculous fucking introduction where Mike Mignola, a lifelong, what's that?
Who's the editor on that?
The editor of this collection? It's Dark Horse, and it doesn't. It's Mike Mignola, script by John Byrne. I don't see. Edited by Barbara Kessel and Scott Alley.
Yeah, that's Bitey the Clown. He's the guy that would bite people at conventions. Like,
okay.
They literally referred to him in Dark Horse Comics as Bitey the Clown, and it was like a well-known thing. He'd literally go up and sexually bite people. Like,
jeez.
Not like, like they weren't like, hey, come and bite me. He'd just be like, come up and, oh, that's Scott. He's just like, yeah, fuck those guys. That's what I'm saying. I've got to say, you're living in sort of like a fantasy land of like everyone's going to get along in comics.
No, nobody needs to get along, but you're on the same team whether you get along or not. Like if you're on a sports team, you don't have to be best buddies with the quarterback, but you got to work together to win the game. And comics, in order to elevate comics to a higher level than the trash that people like Robert Bloch think comics are, even so much as getting an introduction where he gets to call comics trash in a Hellboy comic. In order to get away from that, we have to understand that while we might have disagreements internally, it's our job to bring comics to a higher level, an art form. You don't hear about, and maybe it happens and we just don't hear about it in the West, but you don't hear about petty squabbling like Eric July versus Ethan Van Sciver versus Gail Simone versus John Delarose. You don't hear about that shit in manga. You don't hear about that shit between mangaka, and maybe it happens and we just don't hear about it in the West. But comics are far more revered in Japan than they are in America, and I think a lot of that has to do with a lack of this fucking Western pettiness.
Not enough bombs dropped on Japan. Send them back to scratching in the dirt is what that tells me. If they want, you know who Mark Waid is, right? Like just a few months ago, he was saying how he would rather the comic industry burn, than collaborate with.
I understand that, and that's because
anyone speak up against that.
That's because Mark Waid is he's a male feminist. Simpering beta male, and there's no masculine leadership in comics, and so guys like that and women like Gail Simone, they get to say whatever they want because no one has the balls to stand up to them and tell them, yeah, okay, shut up and make comics or go somewhere else. And but I don't think any of these guys on the right, I don't think that Ethan or Eric or John Delarose or any of these guys are stepping up and being masculine leaders for comics either. They are just grifting their own audiences, and these are great. Like obviously, I have nothing bad to say about this collection of the Cyberfrog collection. But imagine if Ethan was directing the comics industry as a whole, and imagine if he was the managing editor of Marvel, and all Marvel comics got this kind of great treatment that Cyberfrog has. The problem with the right is they're not trying to take back over the major comic book companies that have the most popular characters because more people are going to see Batman and Spider-Man than are ever going to see Cyberfrog. But the people in charge of Batman and Spider-Man are simpering male feminists or actual feminist women who don't like comic books. They have no love for the genre or for the medium, and they are simply collecting a paycheck from the parent companies. It doesn't matter what Mark Waid says because Mark Waid gets paid one way or the other. Mark Waid's comic books don't have to sell because they're loss leaders for the parent company of who does Mark write for these days? Marvel?
I don't even know.
I think he writes
is that like they're talkies, right? They're talkies in silent movies. Marvel, DC, Image Comics, they're silent movies. Imagine the people that were trying to convert the old silents that were the really good silent movies into talkies. Did they convert a couple of them over? Yes. Did did anyone care that like the really great silent movies didn't? A couple years of people cared, but 10 years later, after there weren't any more silent movies being made because all those
Well, they're
guys
not.
were
We're
gone.
not going to stop getting Batman and Spider-Man comics. Those are the that's what the medium is. 90% of comics people who collect comics are collecting Spider-Man and Batman and X-Men. Those are Superman to a much smaller degree. I guess that was more like 80s and 90s. Was Superman's kind of fallen out of and I'm not sitting here. I'm not shitting on indie comics. I like it. Me personally, my personal taste. I like indie comics better than I like anything from the big two. But I'm saying if the big two had masculine leadership and were guiding the medium of comics, we could elevate comics out of the sort of trash heap that Western culture has put it in. Oh, the funny books. Oh, those are if you can't make money off them, just throw them away. When Ed Piskor used to rant all the time about his like going to Japan and just seeing how people on the subway trains would not subway but the travel trains would be reading manga. Like it's integrated into their culture and it's not shameful. Like you would never see like a businessman in America riding the subway reading a Spider-Man or a Batman comic, and that's because comics have been relegated to this either a niche collector market or throwaway trash for little kids. And that's, and it's my goal to raise us up out of that. And this collection that we're looking at here, this Cyberfrog collection, fantastic. Imagine if Batman was getting this kind of love. Imagine if Spider-Man was getting this kind of love. But they don't, because the people that control Marvel and DC don't care about comics. There's no masculine leadership at the top.
Yeah, I'm not really looking for masculine leadership myself. Like I'm just that's what I'm saying. Like I just look at Marvel and DC and Image and all. They're outdated. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like to continue to like worry about them and prop them up and think.
Yeah, I think that's the wrong attitude. I think the attitude of compartmentalizing everyone down into their own little grifter niche where they just do their own comic book. I think that does a disservice to the medium as a whole. I think that's short-sighted and it's putting money in a couple of guys' pockets, and then comics as a whole goes away. So that's just there's no love of comics in that attitude. Like the love of the medium of comics. That's just a grifter attitude of, well, I want to make mine. I want to get mine while I can. So come support my Indiegogo and then fuck everybody else. And I don't. Obviously, people have to pay their bills and people have to pay their bills and make their money, and that's fine. But that ain't the way to elevate comics.
Like
it ain't like, elevating comics. It's a tiny niche of fans that are supporting singular creators, and it ain't doing shit for comics. They might as well just be selling fucking Salamandroid mugs for all the supporters of Ethan Van Sciver care. They might as well just be selling the fucking. They would pay $100 just for the Salamandroid mug because they're just doing it to own the left because that's what Ethan tells them to do. That's what I'm saying. It's a lack of foresight into the future of comics. If we're talking the future of comics, the future of comics has been compromised by these right-wing grifter guys, and obviously by the leftists that fucking took over the corporation side of things, which is just as shameful and probably more shameful, and does far more of a disservice to comics because they are cheapening and degrade, like making Batman gay and black and making Superman's son gay and making everyone female. That's absolutely destroying comics if it hasn't already destroyed comics. So I'm not sitting here acting like they aren't the most to blame, but there's plenty of blame to go around for why comics are considered trash by the culture at large. And I think that Ed had the right idea by putting himself and his friends into that, injecting themselves and their influence into that Marvel. And eventually, they would have eventually done some like DC Grand Design stuff if they would have had an opportunity to it. If Ed hadn't have been killed by the left, by the way, again, I'm not trying to take the blame away from the psycho people on the left that are now literally murdering cartoonists because they, in Ed's case, just kind of got more popular than them, and it was a petty act to try to bring him down a notch. And blew up in their faces when he just decided to kill himself, which is crazy. It's still crazy to think about 6 months later. But Ed really wanted. He was putting people in, instead of complaining about Marvel and DC and going and being a niche grifter. He injected himself and his friends into the corporate Marvel world, and I think that's what we all need to do. Is we need to break the doors down, get in there, and get our stuff into and get those horrible leftists out of there. They don't need to. They have proven that they have these. This is John Malin, right?
Yeah.
These are great Cyberfrog pinups by John Malin. Now imagine if John Malin was doing this for Spider-Man. We need John Malin in there doing Spider-Man comics to fix all this. Like, this is fixable. It's still fixable.
That's what I'm saying. There isn't a fixing it. Like,
I think
they're
is.
not
I
going to
think it's still fixable.
give up control. It's all
no, but we can
now.
Sure,
right?
but I don't think the corporate only cares about DEI because it was a trendy thing to do for 15 years. That trend is dying, obviously, as we've seen across movies, especially. They just can't keep losing the kind of money that they're losing doing this cringy race and gender swap stuff, and now we're moving towards they're gonna ditch all these black women and the trans people and the male feminists. They're all gonna get ditched for AI. The corpos don't have an ideology. They don't care that that these people have this horrible Marxist feminist bent to them. That was just what was trend. They didn't want to get left behind. The way they're afraid they're being left behind. That Salamandroid is fantastic. Look at that. They don't want to get, now they're worried about getting left behind with the AI bullshit. And so you're going to start seeing comics done with AI, which is going to go over even worse than the feminist shit and the Marxist shit, and they're going to be panicking, and they're going to want to try to make money, and the money is going to be made by guys like Ethan Van Sciver, guys like John Malin, people like that, going back to the characters that the public is most comfortable with, the Spider-Mans and the Batmans and the X-Men's and stuff like that, and I'm all for it. I think that's where these guys belong. I don't think these, I'm not saying I don't want Cyberfrog. This is a great character and a great story. And I'm not saying I don't want indie comics. Like, there's a place for indie comics. Charles Burns probably doesn't need to be drawing Spider-Man. He needs to be doing his own thing. So there's a place for great cartoonists in indie comics. But I think a lot of these guys that are grifting on the right need to be in the main. These guys should be the mainstream leaders, and they're not right now. And I think that nobody talks like this. Nobody has these conversations because it's all tribalism, and tribes belong in Africa. And I don't care about Ethan's fans, and I don't care about Eric July's fans. I don't care about any of that because those people, by and large, that are spending money on these guys aren't comics fans. And I'm here to uplift comic books as a medium, and that's the end of my filibuster. You've got the floor, Dr. Ben.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't even know.
No, it's never talked about from this angle. There's no talking points for it.
Well, like I said, I think it's pointless to even worry about. Why worry about whatever the Marvel and DC and Image? I don't care. You know what I'm saying? That's great.
Well, like, either you care about uplift, because the point is uplifting comics as a medium out of the trash fire that it's in currently. If you don't care about that, then you don't care about that. That's what I care about. So when you ask why, that's why. Why is because I want to elevate comics. If you don't care about elevating comics, then that's fine. But that's why. Why? That's why.
That's elevating Marvel. That's elevating Disney. That's trying to give them legitimacy that they've squandered. They're not going to listen anyways. If they did, they already had a chance to do anything that they could have done to fix any of this. They've had that for, you know what I'm saying?
Total lack of leadership. Yeah, I mean, I already addressed it.
I'm not interested in trying to, one day I'm going to get to write Doctor Strange. Fuck Doctor Strange. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck Spider-Man. That's not my goal at all. You know what I mean? Like, they can do whatever they want with their comics. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that doesn't, anything that I can do is just going to be through my own work. right? If I can get other people to make comics too that are like just they just put their whole thing into, good. But you know what I mean? Like I'm not.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
it's it's possible to do both. You can be Ed Piskor and do X-Men Grand Design, and you can do Red Room. Two polar opposites, ends of the comic spectrum. You don't have to do one or the other. You don't have to
right,
say
but that's
fuck Spot. You don't have to say fuck Spider-Man in order to make Let Us Get. You can make an awesome Spider-Man because that's what the majority of the public is going to see, and make Let Us Get because that's your passion and that's what comes from your heart. And again, I like indie comics more. I don't have that many Spider-Mans in my collection. I'm not saying that that's the best comic book in the world. I'm saying that that elevates the medium because that's what the public, the normies, are most comfortable with, those few characters that those corporations own. And it's okay to play. It's okay to play in that sandbox and be an indie creator. Both you as one person you can do both. Let alone
well,
like obviously
yeah,
I promote. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work for Spider Man. I make Strangeville comics. I make underground comics that haven't been popular since fucking 1975. That's where I'm comfortable at. I'm not saying that you should only draw Spider-Man or Batman. I'm saying that it's possible to do both and elevate the medium with the right leadership, which they don't have. Like you said, have squandered and don't want it, and have trashed these characters. I just think it's. I guess I think it's fixable, and you don't, and that's fine. That's just a difference of opinion.
well, I mean, it's just that like Comicsgate is the fix.
It's
That's the
definitely
thing.
not. It's definitely a small grift, and it doesn't do anything for comics as a whole.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like it's continually proved right. You know what I mean? Like the original when they started, they were complaining about all the way the writing was, all the the social justice, like all the ideologies being pushed into everything. Hey, this is not good. It's not going to sell. That was what they were saying back 6 years ago or whatever. Everyone said, "No, you guys, you're wrong. It's everyone wants this. This is definitely what the fans want is to read, like not what I'm saying, like I don't care if there's a gay Spider-Man, I don't care, what I'm saying, but like when it's like forced, like everything, all of the Avengers, all of them have to be gay and they all have to be
Gay and
in
black and trans and women. You have to gender. Everything has to be gender swapped. I understand that those people can't help themselves. They all suck. But Comicsgate has shown its ass. Not as bad, but in its own way has shown its ass and shown as a group to not be able to lead properly again towards my goal, which is the elevation of comics. They've definitely succeeded in putting a considerable amount of money in about a half a dozen guys' pockets, which is awesome for those six guys. But I guess you could say the same for Image. They put money in the pockets of about six guys, and that was about it. So I guess Comicsgate's probably I wouldn't say it's a success on the level of Image. Obviously, Image was enormous and almost eclipsed the big two for a very short for a very short period of time, less than 2 years, maybe a little over 2 years. But Comicsgate definitely does that. So if that's the goal, they're definitely the new. I would say they're the new, not as big, but Comicsgate is the new Image in that regard of being able to put a lot of money in a couple guys' pockets, for sure.
well, I mean, it's the place where everyone can go. That's the whole point of it is that where
I don't know about ever. I don't think there's any left. I don't think there's any left leaning people that have ever been a part of it, and
yeah,
at least half of the original Comicsgate right wingers have been kicked out of Comicsgate. So I don't think everyone can go there. Comicsgate people can go there if you're willing to follow that ideology, the tribal ideology of Comicsgate versus the big two or Image or whatever, which is fine. If you're willing to do that, that's fine. That's not where I want it. Like I said, I'm an island. I float out here by myself, and I'm comfortable. That's where I'm most comfortable.
eh,
We're just having conversations. These are good conversations to have about comics, and
I mean,
especially,
it's definitely
you
the
know,
time to
people,
talk about Comicsgate with
nobody's willing to talk Comicsgate at all outside of Comicsgate. So it's good to have these conversations, and I hope a lot of the people that watch these videos here on this channel that would lean further left or moderate, listen to this stuff with an open mind.
Donald DeLay is a leftist.
Oh, he sure is. He sucks. That guy
What?
sucks.
Are you kidding?
Not as an artist. I'm just saying as a human being, he's a pretty slimy guy.
Oh, I'm not going to talk about his eating habits on the air when he's not here, but
No, he's all right.
Like that's Donald DeLay.
Yeah.
Look at that shit.
Yeah, he's all right.
Kidding? That's Donald DeLay. I mean, that is.
I mean, he's definitely not a leftist. He's not going to vote for fucking Kamala Harris.
I don't know what he's voting for, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he's
No,
not like
he was a Trump supporter in 2016 when he was doing his Brutus the Badass book. Come on.
Was he?
Let's be honest. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, that's what
he came from the left, and then he pledged his allegiance to Comicsgate and Donald Trump. And I don't know where he stands today because I quit following him. He's not a fun person to follow on social media, but he was definitely part of the right-leaning creator Comicsgate paradigm originally.
Maybe. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I only saw him, like, I've only seen this guy lately. I didn't know about him back in 2016. I didn't know about any of the guys back. That's what I'm saying. Like, I voted for Trump, and, like, everyone was like, well, there aren't any other Trump people in comics, so fuck you. You're not welcome.
And they still act that way, and that needs to be. That's what
I'm saying. I left back then because Comicsgate didn't have, like, enough of an outreach just to show, like, hey, it doesn't matter. We're not here to do that too. Like, you don't have to do this, but, like, we're not going to kick you out if you don't agree about border crossings or whatever.
I mean, they kicked they kicked Mike S. Miller out for saying pride is a sin during Pride Month. So again, before your time. I'm looking for that.
I have
book. I've got this in my collection. I couldn't get him to respond to me. I was going to try to have Mike Miller on here to talk about Freak Force, and he won't fucking respond back to me. So fuck him too. No, not really. I'm sure he'll get around to it. He's a busy guy. Where is my Brutus the Badass? I've got it in my collection. Well, this.
I don't get too. Comicsgate is the place where I can talk about whatever I want and not have to worry about getting shoved out and having everybody be like, don't talk to him anymore. He pointed out,
Comicsgate shoved the writer of Brutus the Badass out back in the early days, Nasser Rabadi, who's back now, but he was definitely kicked out of Comicsgate for quite a time. And this is Brutus the Badass. This is the first Donald DeLay Comicsgate book, which is really cool looking. Definitely no denying his skills as a creator. But Donald DeLay tried to cut Nasser out of the profits of this book when it originally came out, and Ethan had to set him straight and tell him, "Fucking pay the man." And they've since done a Brutus the Badass issue 2, but I didn't support it because Donald tried to fuck the writer the first time. So. It's usually the opposite. It's usually the other way around, right? It's usually the writer that tries to fuck the artist, like Robert Kirkman trying to fuck that, what was his name, Tony Moore, out of the profits of The Walking Dead. So it's weird that this was reversed. It was the artist that was trying to fuck the writer, which is weird.
Try to get one for the home team. I like it. That makes me like him even more. Yeah, fuck Nasser. Yeah, fuck the writer. I'll put Donald on this one.
We don't need
That's what I'm saying.
Comics doesn't need writers.
Yeah, fuck a bunch of writers. Exactly. Look at that.
Here we go.
Perfect Cyberfrog book.
No writers.
Not a word in sight. Perfect.
Love it.
Oh, man, look at that. Oh, shit. Oh, my gosh.
All right.
Their eye, like, rolling back in their heads. I'm
gonna quit arguing with you. Whatever you want to say, whatever pro stuff you want to say about Comicsgate. This is it. We're gonna get out of here, gang. But we're gonna let Dr. Ben filibuster for a minute himself. I've taken up too much of this conversation on my side. So, Dr. Ben, how much do you love Comicsgate?
Yes, Comicsgate is the place where I can publish whatever I want. I can talk about weird satanic murders because I want to point out that Satanists are evil. The answer is Jesus Christ.
Which for some reason, I'm sorry, I am interrupting you. Which for some reason is like it's like a controversial opinion on the left, like saying Jesus Christ is king and Satanists are retarded.
That's an alt-right white supremacy thing to say Christ is king. Like that's what I'm saying. Like
crazy.
They are literal Satanists on the left.
Literal Satanists.
I think it's just a joke where they like to be edge lords and haha, Christians are dumb. I'm a Satanist. Yeah, there's some that are just dipshits like that, but then there are real, literal murderers like that lady. So I'll be having the whole story in the crowd fund. Cover some of the stuff. The King of America being crowned. Of course, our friend Lil Piscor and Jim Jug Rim. I'll have all the fun, goofy stuff that like other places will say like, "Hey, you can't make jokes about that. What are you doing? Like writing stuff about Gaza and famine and drawing yourself as the shmoo? Like, what is wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? Like other places would say these things are in bad taste. Comicsgate will also say that, but I'm allowed to still be in Comicsgate. Whereas other places like Cosmic Lion Productions, or as I like to say, Cosmic Zion Productions, immediately blocks me and pushes me out of their group. I just had another fella block me for pointing out that Kamala is the they had posted these pictures of cartoonists for Kamala.
Oh my god.
Right?
Oh my god.
And so cartoonist for Kamala.
No.
So I'm just where's it at? It's up just I'm scrolling. I don't want to show you like I have a million just obscene pictures on my telephone, so I can't.
I don't want to show you all this. I don't want to show you all this trans porn. Get us kicked off of YouTube.
They will kick us off immediately if they.
I have a heroic collection of trans porn.
So
That's right. Yeah.
They don't like having their own rules used against them.
Right.
And I find that hilarious. The same with those Johnny Ryan ones.
Yeah.
Where he was, you ruined my life. I told you not to post that insensitive tweet.
Yeah, Johnny Ryan's a bad motherfucker.
Are you sure you want to post that drawing? You might get in a lot of trouble. I don't think you should use negative words. Words like and will make people feel unsafe, and you might lose your account. A couple girls on social media said you were creepy. So I guess there's only one thing left for you to do.
That's a spicy Ed Piscor comic right there.
Oh yeah, that was nice. See, exactly. I'm exposing my religious beliefs on here. I expect to face cheese bigots who will not accept my spiritual self. So, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't. Comicsgate is the only place where you can say any of that. And that, that's the funniest thing too with Ed Piscor is that not funny like like the ironic black horror funny is that like they were like, oh well, he's he is a member of Comicsgate. That's what his problem is. He's in there. He's secretly a Comicsgater. That was one of the things that they were all saying about him before he had passed, and probably since he has passed as well. That is like the level of hatred and vitriol that they have for anyone who says that they're Comicsgate, whether it's Ethan or Cecil being himself, or that Riley, the young Clippa who was trolling Eric July, or Riley's got people that are trans people that are with him. Riley might be, there's so many different. It's just bizarre. Anyone who says they're part of it or like they're not against it, you get like hated. This whole.
Yeah, I think we're gonna lose subscribers for this episode simply by me covering Cyberfrog on here, even though I've been critical of it, and even though I'm critical of Comicsgate. It's not enough to be critical and accepting. You have to deplatform, cancel, and shame, which from the perspective of the leftists, which is nuts. But we've really gone over here.
So I assume I'll be getting a package full of anthrax soon enough.
Right here to the speaking of packages of anthrax, please don't send those to Kevin Strange, PO Box number 5, Cottage Hills, Illinois 62018. But if you do have comics that are burning up a hole in your collection that you would like to see covered here on the channel, you can send those to Kevin Strange, P.O. Box number 5, Cottage Hills, Illinois 62018. If you are a creator, Comicsgate or otherwise, and you want to see your stuff featured on the channel, you can send your stuff to Kevin Strange, P.O. Box number 5, Cottage Hills, Illinois 62018. Like Dr. Ben did, as he talked about Cosmic Lion Productions a few minutes ago. The Cosmic Lion Productions crew, including Eli Schwab, created this insanely thick Image Grand Design under the orders of the late, great Ed Piskor and Image Grand Disaster on the other side. And Dr. Ben, you have 3 stories under the tutelage of Eli Schwab he wasn't the editor of this one. Who was the editor of this side?
A fella that removed his name or used a fake.
Okay, name redacted. Under the tutelage of name redacted, Dr. Ben, you have 3 stories in the Image Grand Disaster, and that is this is a wild story that we're going to talk about in its own episode in its entirety. But Dr. Ben, you were on the front lines of Image Grand Design / Grand Disaster, of the shaming and canceling of Ed Piskor, which led to his eventual suicide, which led to eventually those guys completely rebranding and trying to distance themselves from that drama and calling themselves Cosmic Lion Productions. And we're going to talk about it all. Dr. Ben, sent me all kinds of fun stuff in the mail, and you can too. He sent me this bumper sticker, these circle stickers.
Did I send you Stanley's book?
Nope, no Stanley. You sent me the Silent, however.
And I didn't send the 63 one either.
Nope, he sent me no legs.
My apologies. I was.
You sent me the Let Us the Let Us Get zine, and let me tell you, Dr. Ben. I'm really impressed. You dashed this out real quick, this cover, like the week before the ErieCon, and I'm digging the bikini clad girl on the cover. You did a real good job on that sexy lady. I'm impressed by the curves there on her. There's so much fun stuff in the
of course.
What's that?
It's an homage to Mark Texeria.
Right.
I don't know where I put the comic. It's like Vampirella Shadowhawk.
Right. It's got Vampirella up here, Shadowhawk down here. You can buy Let Us Get right now if you follow the link in the description to Dr. Ben's Substack. And if you send me comics, I'll promote them just like I'm promoting Dr. Ben's comics right now. Dr. Ben, you got anything else?
Hey, go to my Substack, like he's saying, drben.substack.com. Download copies of Stanley's Tales of Terror. Everyone's favorite talking wabbit, Stanley.
I love that page. That page is awesome.
It's got some.
I'd like a print of that. Can you blow that up and make it a print? That'd be a great print.
Oh yeah.
That'd be a great print.
She had a tattoo just like that.
Everybody can relate to the X.
That's where I get my my label as the epitome of underground comics. Michael Fitzgerald Troy recently ran the what was it? What did they call it? Giant Size Big Bang or something? They had a Kickstarter for a Big Bang anthology, Big Bang Comics. Gary Carlson and the other guys doing that. But I can't believe I didn't send you the 1963 thing. It's so dumb. But you can get copies of these. I'm going to put up a post today that'll have like a link to like the free Dropbox for these. So you can just like download a PDF of these, and I think the PDF for this is on there too, and I'll have a link to the crowdfund. We'll have the crowdfund up here shortly. So, yeah, this is the bad ink one. Okay, but yeah, that's what I got. If you ain't got nothing else, I'm gonna tell people to get out there and look for some Cerebus issues and those back issues. Back issues, in the bins, in the dollar bins. Keep digging in the dollar bins. That's what I'm trying to say.
Dig up some Cerebus issues in the dollar bin. They're going to be worth something soon when we uncancel Dave Sim. If you thought this conversation about Ethan Van Sciver was spicy, wait till we start talking about uncanceling Dave Sim. Woo! Hope you guys enjoy this content. You ain't hearing conversations like this anywhere else in the comics space, as the kids like to call it. Keep on digging, and I hope to see you in the dollar bin. We out this piece.